Let's take a look at the Week 9 AP Top 25, as I believe that we're going to have a lot in common with my Top 25. See how far Indiana fell, and is Miami even here anymore? What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Where would you rank Miami or Ole Miss or any of the other undefeated and top-ranked teams that took an L on Saturday following what was a raucous weekend? For myself, I think I knew what I was going to do almost as soon as Alabama got a 17-point lead against Tennessee and then didn't let it go. Also, if you're watching this now and you were expecting this to come out hours ago, had an emergency need to get to, but we're here now and we're talking about it. So Ohio State's at number one as they are clearing away the best team in college football by some margin. They've given up all of 41 points in 7 games this year. They have stopped everybody they played. Illinois scored 16, and that feels like they won the Super Bowl, because if you look at what they did to Wisconsin, which is allow nothing and nada, you got to get there in a quick, fast, and hurry, man. A&M at number 3 makes sense to me. They're the last undefeated team in the SEC, but they feel like a paper number 3. They're going to have an opportunity to prove that a little bit later on. But one of the things I think is interesting about their schedule is they don't have to play Alabama at all in the regular season, which means they wouldn't see them unless they saw them in the SEC championship game or the playoff. They get there. Alabama's 6-1. They get the win against Georgia at Sanford, something Ole Miss couldn't do, and they get the win against Tennessee at Tuscaloosa. They are the second best team in the SEC. Still don't know what to do with that Florida State loss exactly, because Florida State is actually bad and Alabama might actually be good, but are they good enough to win a national championship or even an SEC championship remains to be seen. Georgia is at number 5 after a great win against Ole Miss. They come from behind after allowing Ole Miss to score on their first 5 drives. They beat them 43-35. Lane Kiffin can't quite get over the hump there. Gunnar Stockton might be in the Heisman conversation, but I don't put him in the same conversation as Julian Sand, who right now is cleared away the best player available for the award, I should say. Shouldn't be the best. He's not the best player in the sport. That's Jeremiah Smith. Behind him is maybe Caleb Downs, if you could flip-flop him. And then I might put Julian Sand in that conversation, but as he's completing more than 80% of his passes, he went for 394 and 85.7% of his passes were complete, 4 TDs. Probably going to win the Heisman Trophy. Number 6, we got Oregon, who took out their frustrations of losing to Indiana on Rutgers. They led that game 42-3 at halftime. Wow. Georgia Tech moves up to number 7. They are 7-0 off of beating Duke 27-18. I don't know if they're going to stick here. They feel a lot like Texas Tech. They meet the right team, the right opponent. Maybe their quarterback, Haynes King, can't go. Maybe we think differently about them. Ole Miss falls to 8, 3 spots after the loss to Georgia. That's okay. Miami falls to 9, which I think is generous. The 7 spots I thought would be more, given who they lost to. They lost to Louisville, who was unranked. Now, Louisville's only losses to Virginia, but Virginia feels like a soft one-loss team, if any. Then we get Vanderbilt at number 10, ranked in the top 10 for the first time since 1948. Way to go, Vanderbilt, who is 6-1 for the first time since 1950. BYU's up to number 11 off of a 7-0 start to the season. They got a really great win against Utah last night in the Holy War. It felt for a while as if that Utah run game was going to see what it could do, and it wasn't much of anything, as the defense for BYU was just too much for David Dampier and the Utes. Notre Dame is up to 12 with 2 losses, right? It beat USC on primetime, but it's got the loss to A&M, it's got the loss to Miami. So that's 2 top 10 teams in the AP. Okay, but Oklahoma's up to 13 off a win against South Carolina, getting back on the good foot on the get right with the win against South Carolina. Texas Tech falls to 14. That's 7 spots off of the loss to Arizona State, which I think is kind of unfair. But if you look at the loss that they took versus the loss that Miami took, they're not dissimilar, right? Arizona State's a good football team. Louisville is a good football team. Difference is Arizona State got the win. Or no. Yes, Arizona State got the win at home. Louisville got the win on the road. So maybe you're going to value that one a little bit differently. Missouri at number 15, 6-1. They needed 3 overtimes to beat Auburn, but they got it done. Virginia up to 16, up 2 spots off of what has been a really interesting start to the season. They're 6-1. It might be them and Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. Tennessee falls to 17 off the loss to Alabama. That's 6 spots down, or about where they were to start the season. South Florida moves up 1 spot to 18 off of stomping out Florida Atlantic. And then Louisville makes it into the top 25 at number 19, which is fine because they got a great win against number 2 team in the country. LSU falls to 20 off of the loss to Vanderbilt, which is a top 10 team, but so was LSU at the time of the loss. Cincinnati moves up 3 spots, to 21. It's them, it's BYU, and it's Texas Tech up there. We'll see what happens. Texas moves down a spot off of a really close win to Kentucky, a game that Kentucky should have won and just let slip through their fingers. Illinois at 5-2. They're sitting at number 23. Arizona State sits at 24, and Michigan is at 25. USC doesn't even make it into the top 25 off the loss to Notre Dame. They got run on. I mean, Jeremiah Love had 265 total yards, 224 on the ground. Utah falls out of the top 25 to 40. Tulane is at 37. Houston's at 34. Navy's at 28. San Diego State's 7. James Madison's at 6. Boise State's 4. Texas Christian is at 2. Minnesota's at 1. Minnesota, who got the top 25 win against Nebraska. What I think is more interesting about all of this is that Nebraska didn't get any votes at all. We ranked Nebraska the 1 week. They go on the road to Minneapolis, and they get handled. They get sacked 9 times, 8 times, 9 times. Can't remember if it was Nebraska that gave up 8 sacks or it was Miami that gave up 9. Either way, quarterbacks were on their backs, right? It was really difficult to look at that team and think it's a top 25 opponent, even as Nebraska's schedule sets up for them to win 10 games. All they got to do is take care of business, but taking care of business means beating teams like Minnesota, and they couldn't get that done. We're also in another week in which Penn State is nowhere near being a top 25 team again after starting at one point at number 2 team in the country, even thinking of number 1 team in the country. They take a loss to Iowa. As Mark Gronowski rushed for 130 yards on 9 carries in that win. Feels like the seams are coming apart at Penn State, and that's what's going to happen when you fire your head coach, which is another topic that we need to talk about here in a bit. But I just think that it's interesting to discuss what we've seen from these college football programs that are doing really well and how Texas Tech, Indiana, even Ole Miss to some degree, but not a big degree, Georgia Tech and others have made it really difficult for you to keep your head coach around if that's what you want to do, because, well, if your head coach isn't winning, probably found a reason to get him up out of there. And finding a reason to get him up out of there is what we've been doing here lately. Yes, I'm going to talk about Billy Napier in another segment, but for the time being, you should know that we all thought that Billy Napier was going to get fired last year. That he made it as far as he has is testament to just what he had built and what we thought he had at Florida, which is a preseason top 25 team where we're all talking really well about it and thinking they're going to be great and it's going to be rosy all the way down for the Florida Gators. It simply was not. Same thing is true for Penn State. And because Indiana has not just moved up to number 2 in the country and taken their coach off the board by giving him an $11 million annual contract, $11.6 million, it's going to be really difficult to breathe for so many in and around the sport as we discuss what, if anything, is going to happen next, because it feels like there's going to be some moving and some shaking in this coaching carousel.